The Diablo IV closed beta arrived on Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and PC over the weekend. Thanks to Blizzard PR, I got to spend nearly 20 hours playing it, and Lilith be praised, it is fantastic. The game utilizes an exquisite mix of Diablo 3's gameplay and Diablo Immortal's shared worlds, all wrapped up in Diablo 1 and 2's look and feel. There is an open beta that adds in 2 more classes coming up this weekend. So let's break down what you'll find out in this accursed world of Sanctuary. Diablo IV is a very dark game, set in a world that is falling apart. As best I can tell from multiple reviews, the game appears to take place a few decades after Diablo III Reapers of Souls. This world of Sanctuary has been abandoned by the heavens and left to decay following the dreadful war with Hell. Lilith, the mother of Sanctuary, has been summoned back to life, and a showdown with her and her former partner, the angel Narris, feels inevitable. The game begins with our character alone and lost in the wilderness. This closed beta saw 3 of the 5 classes available. Those are the Barbarian, Rogue, and Wizard. Necromancers and Druids are unavailable for this first weekend, but should be available to be played in the open beta coming on Friday, March 24th. No matter which character you choose, you'll have a small but impactful number of customization options to choose from for their appearance. Male or female, you can choose the skin color, hair type, scars, tattoos, and more. There's not a huge number of options, but it is a welcome addition over Diablo 3's complete lack of choice on how your character looked. You will awaken in a cavern and make your way to the nearest town. A local castle is full of demons and the townsfolk beg you to clear it out. After successfully murdering every skeleton and imp, you return a hero and find that things aren't what they appear to be. This is a mature game, and the cinematics take full advantage of that with intense gore and truly unsettling themes. Lilith is a temptress, and using her powers to seduce the humans of Sanctuary, they become her unwitting evil army. The writing is excellent. It's a true step above Diablo 3's pretty cheesy and easy to guess narrative, and this is all enhanced by excellent cinematic camera direction. We'll pull right up into the faces of people, and the models hold up at all times. Diablo IV is an absolutely gorgeous game, despite its muted color palette, as one of the biggest complaints of Diablo III and the more recent mobile game Diablo Immortal was the far too bright and vibrant colors used, at least, for fan preference. Diablo takes place in an angry, mean, desolate world, and 4 is a perfect marriage of modern graphical power and that old sense of dread constantly present in the first 2 games. You can play through all of Act 1, which is a meaty amount of content in itself, adding clearing out each of the zones present in the massive map, and this is probably one of the best betas I have ever seen content-wise. The fact that it's gorgeous, the music is incredible, and the gameplay is fantastic, well, let's get into that gameplay next. I personally put over 3,000 hours into Diablo 3 on PC and console combined. It's probably one of my favorite games of all time, and Diablo 4 is better than it in every way. I started off as a wizard, playing in co-op with my brother for multiple hours on the first day of the beta. Then playing solo, I ended up swapping over and getting a barbarian up to level 20 and clearing the first act. I have a rogue in the mid-teens, and all 3 characters felt great to play with. The wizard probably felt most overpowered on the harder difficulties, but with a little work on the builds and some luck with legendary drops, all 3 of them felt completely viable. A lot of the game's systems, such as mounts, are not available in the beta. That being said, what is here is still substantial. Barbarians, for instance, have all the usual item slots, which are head, chest, wrists, legs, boots, amulets, and 2 ring slots. Whereas the rogue has 2 melee slots and 1 ranged, and the wizard has a main hand, an offhand, or you can just use a staff, the barbarian differs in that they have 4 different weapon slots. There is a big 2-handed slashing weapon, a big 2-handed bludgeoning weapon, and then 2 slots for dual wielding. These are all tied into your various move types, so you'll always have to have weapons equipped to match each attack type. Rend, for instance, needs a slashing weapon, while Hammer of the Ancients needs your big old bludgeoning hammer, and Frenzy needs your little dual-wielding daggers or swords, depending on what you got. The skill trees are massive, and you can reach up to level 25 in the beta, which gives access to at least one of all of your different move types for each face, bumper, and trigger button. Every class starts with a core ability. For barbarians, this ability generates the fury that their harder hitting moves will need. Wizards and rogues passively generate their resources, so their core moves end up being more about setting up combos, procs, and giving passive buffs. It should feel right at home for any fan of Diablo, and from the start, you have full freedom to level up whatever you want as soon as you have reached each tree. Respeccing your abilities is free and can be done on the fly up to level 15, which works great for testing things out. Every move has one set upgrade and then a choice for a second upgrade. Some trees have passive buffs alongside the abilities, and each ability has 5 ranks to pour points into. Once you've reached the level cap in the main release, there are Paragon points to further enhance your character, and it is a humongous system that seems like it will give far more choice in customizing your playstyle than Diablo 3 ever did. Just everything about this game seems enormous, and even the small slice of it that we got to play, I nearly lost myself for dozens of hours despite knowing that none of it carries over to the full release in June. I did find rogues to be quite interesting in that you can choose to play 2 different styles. There are your melee-focused moves and ranged ones in every tree. I stuck with mostly melee until I found a legendary bow that had me mixing in a ridiculously cool-looking and powerful ranged attack. I love the variety, and I think by the endgame I wouldn't be surprised if nearly no 2 characters were exactly alike. There may only be 5 classes by launch, but I don't think there is any issue here with how many options there are available for each. You will need a Battle.net account if you want to play co-op, as this game fully supports crossplay. And I did try inviting my brother before we were Battle.net friends, and it just didn't work. This is most likely due to the fact that they never turned on the Xbox Club for the game, which makes sense as it is only a beta, but it's just a word of warning for anyone on the open beta weekend. There is a clan system as well, which was easy to set up, and the biggest change of the game is the aforementioned shared world. At any time, in any city, or most open world locations, you will be in a server with other randomly selected players. There are Destiny-style public events to take part in, as well as more rare and incredibly difficult world events. The public events were pretty easy and give solid rewards for your time spent, and they seem to pop up randomly and start the moment you get there. The world event we got to try out in the closed beta, though, was on a set timer, and it was incredibly difficult. It was tuned for level 25 players, the max allowed in the beta, and I was nowhere near that, so every hit killed me, but I was at least able to do damage to the boss. After our group of 10 people killed him, I ended up with 6 different legendary drops that were all massive upgrades. Depending on the amount of content like this, and nothing in the beta has led me to believe it will be lacking, this game is going to be absolutely massive at launch. There were issues with the servers on the first day with massively long queue times and constant disconnects. By Saturday, things were stable and I haven't had an issue since. I do expect the open beta to draw on far more players, especially as the word of mouth has been so positive online, so you might run into quite a few issues over this weekend. The last thing I'd like to touch on is the music. Diablo 3 and especially Reaper of Souls had great music, and somehow Diablo 4's tunes have raised that bar even higher. The main town music has no right going as hard as it does, and I found myself standing around listening to it for hours as I absent-mindedly worked on my build. Wrapping things up, Diablo 4 seems to be excellent, and barring falling off a cliff quality-wise in the rest of the game, it is going to be one of the biggest releases of the year. The story is engaging, the writing is excellent, the gameplay is exquisite, and the amount of content is already ridiculous. It has gone from one of my top 5 most anticipated titles of the year to being tied with Starfield for the most.